Hey, hey, hey. Good morning. Happy Thursday, everyone. All right. I have some good stuff lined up for you guys today. As always, we're going to give everyone just a few minutes to log in, get the notifications that we're live, and join us. I'm going to open Facebook. Hi, Blair. Let's see. I think one of these days I would do all this before I log in, but I figure I have some time to kill with y'all too. So let me know as you guys jump in. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know. Let me know you're here. I assume you guys can hear me, or you would have logged off by now. Always so worried. Always so worried that it can't hear me. Don't know why. So yay, everyone's here, you guys. So well, we're killing time. So we moved into a shared space. We used to have an office that held like 6 people. There were only 3 of us working. Now there's only 2 that work from like in the office. And even then we can work from home a lot, right? So we downsized. So we're in a shared, like one of those shared workspaces. Lindsay and I each have our own office. We're just on a floor that has a whole bunch of other consultants and accountants and lawyers. Well, I picked the office I did. So I have this office. There was an empty office right here on the corner. And then right on the other side is Lindsay. And so I picked this one because nobody was there. Nobody was there. And you guys, I don't know if you know this, but I'm not a quiet person. Whether I'm on the phone talking to Lindsay when she comes in, on the phone or on a Zoom with you guys, not quiet. So we moved in March. And then about a month ago, someone moved in over there. And I was very self-conscious. And the reason you guys I'm self-conscious about being loud is because at my last office, because I face the wall right now, right? And in my last office, I did too. And one time I was on a phone call and the guy next door banged on my wall and then complained about me for being too loud. So I'm like, good, what do I do? I'm a loud person, right? So I was very weary when I moved in. Picked this office because I had no neighbors. And now I have a neighbor there. And then last week or this week maybe, a group of people moved in there. Like it's a bigger office. I think it holds like 6 people, 5 or 6 people. And so now I'm like, so I always like every time I get on a call, I start at like this volume, but I guarantee you within 5 or 10 minutes, I'm going to be, my normal boisterous self. So I don't know what to tell these people. Although last night I was here till about 6 and one of the dudes over there, like I walked into the hallway to the bathroom, I could hear him. He was so loud and he was throwing the F-bomb around. And I was like, okay, maybe you're my people and maybe you don't care that you can hear me on the other side of the office. Well, I don't know. All right, guys. Cool. I killed a few minutes. I still didn't pull up the other Facebook page that I wanted. Let me open that real quick. Money, tax, and finance. Okay. There we go, y'all. Maybe. Why isn't it working? Where am I, guys? I assume you guys can all see me. It's fine. Okay. So guys, these are updates and Q&A sessions. So if you are here live, if you have any tax, accounting, bookkeeping questions that you want answered, business or personal, guys. I know a lot of places you guys are watching this are business related, but even if they're personal, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer your questions. I do have a few updates to provide for you guys, and then I have a few asked questions that people sent to me earlier this week that I can answer. I don't need those, I suppose. So I will do that. But first and foremost, always, if you're here live, I want to make sure I answer your questions. So definitely put those in the chat if you are here. All right. So I will jump in. Hold on. Let me move some things. Okay, I have 3 monitors, guys, so I can never decide where exactly I want everything. Hey, Jackie! Let's see, Jackie's here, Joyce is here, Blair's here. I can't, if you're watching on Facebook, guys, I can't get it to pull up on my side screen, but if you're on Facebook and you want me to know who you are, in the comments it says, I'm using StreamYard, click here to let me see who you are. Click that and then I'll know who's here. Okay, so a few quick reminders first. So October 15th is next Friday. That is your extended filing deadline for personal returns for 2020. Okay, meaning if you have not filed your 2020 tax return yet, your personal 1040, it's due next Friday. Corporations, C corporation returns are also due next Friday, and nonprofits are due November 15th. My partnerships and my S corps, y'all were due September 15th. If you did not file by that extended deadline, you need to get in ASAP, because for my partnerships and my S corps, every month you're late, there's a $200 charge per shareholder or partner that is charged for every month you're late. So get that in ASAP. You can get it filed by October 15th. You'll limit those penalties to 1 month. And trusts were due September 30th. So if you have not filed your personal tax return yet, October 15th is your deadline. Keep in mind, you guys, on a personal return, and as well as corporation returns, there's only late filing penalties if you owe money. All right, so if you never owe money, I'm not telling you to be late, but if you never owe money, you always get a refund, and you are anticipating a refund in 2020 as well. If you have to, you can still file after that October 15th deadline. Anybody can file after the October 15th deadline. There's just penalties involved if you owe money. So if you anticipate owing money, or you do not know, or you're unsure, definitely find some help or get that return filed by next Friday so you can avoid those late payment penalties. Another quick update, you guys, a reminder, if you have PPP loans out there, right? If you had a first draw PPP loan, meaning last year, sometime between April and whenever they stopped giving the first round out, August maybe? Did I make that up? I don't know. Those first round applications are likely coming due very soon, if not already due. So applications for forgiveness on your PPP loans are due 10 months after the end of your covered period. So if we go back, and the very first PPP loans were given in April, okay, and if you took the full 6 months, right, then that means your covered period ended in October, which means your forgiveness application was due back on August 30th. And even earlier if you took a shorter covered period. Okay, so first round PPP forgiveness applications are probably already past due or coming close to being due. Keep in mind, if you've passed your application deadline, means you started repayment, right? But you can always turn the application in. You can still turn that application in, get forgiven, and get that amount forgiven, and maybe get paid back on what you've paid. That part is still unclear. I haven't actually had anyone go through this. Can't really find some guidance on what happens if you start making PPP repayments and then get forgiven. You should get that money back because your full PPP loan is forgiven, but I haven't seen how that transaction actually works. So we'll have to wait and see. If you got a second draw on your PPP, meaning earlier this year, right? January, February, March. If you got that second round, same thing, you could take up to a 6-month covered period. So some of you, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, everybody should be done with their covered period. Yes, I counted on my fingers. Don't judge me. Your covered period is over, and you have 10 months from the end of your covered period to get that forgiveness application submitted to your bank and get that approved so you can avoid making repayments on that loan. Remember, shameless plug, if you need help with PPP forgiveness, either a consult to make sure you want me to, you want a second set of eyes going over your application, maybe you have a few questions on the application you're just not sure of, we do offer PPP consultations, 30-minute consultations for $250. We can also do full PPP forgiveness application completion. That starts at $500 and goes up depending on how much work we got to do for you. So just things to keep in mind. So, okay, so those are the things for updates, I think. I do have one more update, but we'll come back to that because I like to jump around. So can you ever get economic disaster loan forgiven? So our EIDLs, right, our economic injury disaster loans, those were the ones that last year, I mean, they're always a thing, you guys. They weren't new with COVID. The pandemic just became an economic disaster that qualified you to take an EIDL. Those were the ones that were loans from the government at a low interest rate, 3.25, 3.75. Hi, Emily. 3.25, 3.75, up to, so they wanted to lend you 6 months worth of working capital up to, at the original time, they limited it to $150,000. All right. And those have never, unfortunately, been considered. They haven't never had any talks about forgiving those loans. Those are going to be loans that must be repaid. The repayment start has changed as we've gone through. Originally, it was 1 year after you got the funds. They extended that out to, I believe, 2 years or 2 years, and then 18 months if you got an emergency disaster loan this year. Because what happened is they closed it down for a while just because they needed to reevaluate their funds and where they were allocating the money. Then they reopened that in January when they issued the second round of PPP, all that jazz. Brings me to another question I've gotten a lot is, are we going to see another round of PPP? I don't think so. I mean, at least not now. And I believe, our government right now our Congress is meeting to try to get a budget reconciliation. They're trying to pass Biden's infrastructure plan. They have things on their plate, and nowhere in there is there any sort of additional pandemic or COVID relief at the current time. So once they get through that, I think then they recess for the holidays. So as things stand now, I do not think there will be any further COVID relief happening. That can always turn depending on how things change, right? This is based on, I'm sorry if you can hear my phone, you guys, I don't usually turn it up, or I usually turn it down, and I forgot. That's based on how things are now, right? If we, fingers crossed we don't, but if the pandemic takes a downturn and things, it gets crazy again, jobs are lost, all that, we may see some emergency relief passed. But as it stands now, as people are working again, as businesses are thriving again, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Let's see. All right, one more update that I want to talk to you guys about, and that's the advanced child tax credit. I know this isn't business for those of you that are here in the money, tax, and finance group, but I think as long as you have kids, it affects you. This client really wants to get a hold of me. Anywho, so the advanced child tax credit. Hold on, you guys, I just can't. Just in case they call back again. I don't like being distracted. Okay. All right. So the advanced child tax credit. So if you guys remember, some of us are currently getting advanced payments of the advanced child tax credit. So the advanced child tax credit is not new in 2021. It is something that has been around. In 2021, you get more. Okay, they've increased the credit amount. They've also expanded who can qualify for this. It used to be there was a phase out that started at $15,000 in income. They've increased that to, I think, $125,000. Okay, nope, I lied. That's the dependent care credit. I will circle back around to that too. Sorry. That's what happens when you read too much stuff, right? All at once. Back it up. Advanced child tax credit. Talk to you guys about it. Enough about this. You think I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so advanced child tax credit. The credit amount increased in 2021. And what they did is they also offered to pay up to 50% in prepayments, right? Which started back in July. So what they said is whatever amount we believe you'll qualify for credit on your 2021 tax return, so let's say it's $2,000, okay? We will pay 50% of that, $1,000 in this case, over a 6-month period, July through December, okay? And we've talked about this a lot because they were basing it off whatever their most recently received tax return was in their system. So for some taxpayers, this is the 2019 tax return. For other taxpayers, it's 2020. For some taxpayers, they got July payments based off 2019. Things changed. Their payments either started, ceased, or adjusted after their 2020 was filed. Guys, it's all over the place. It's like, right? But one thing so there's a portal, because there are people that are like, wait. I am showing that I'm qualifying for this credit, right? But I'm not going to qualify this year, right? It might be maybe you had a child who phased out. Maybe they phased out the age-wise of being able to be claimed for this credit. Maybe your income is better, in 2021, you're above those income phase out thresholds and you're not going to qualify for the credit this year. Maybe you have joint custody with, the other parent, and you're receiving these payments now because they're basing it off the return where you qualify for it, where you claimed your child. But in 2021, it's not your year to claim your child, so you're not going to get this credit, right? And so you want to be like, don't send me this money because I'm not gonna be due this money. Because you guys, whereas with the stimulus payment, they straight said, if we send you a stimulus payment and you don't qualify for it, unless you're dead, you don't have to repay it. Not so with the advanced child tax credit. With the advanced child tax credit, you will reconcile this on your tax return. And I believe there are some protected amounts that are either being proposed or passed, but I haven't looked into those yet, so I don't want to go into them. I will add that to my list to look at before we chat next week. But assuming that you are not going to qualify for this credit in 2021 for whatever reason we've discussed, you don't want to get these advance payments, right? And so they created a portal where you could go in and you could opt out of these payments. Well, on the flip side of this, right, there are people like, well, wait, I didn't qualify on my 2020 tax return, which is what you're basing this off of, but in 2021, I do get to claim my kid, right? Or in 2021, I will have less income and I will qualify for this credit. Or in 2021, maybe my filing status changes, which now qualifies me for it. Whatever the reason, okay, the IRS has been telling us since probably June that they will be updating the portal so that you can put this information in. You can put this information into the system so you can get these advanced credits. Okay, still not updated. In fact, on Monday they updated their Q&A, like the IRS's Q&A, to say when can I update my information on the portal, and they say fall. So that is now. I have colleagues who have called the IRS. There's one who has called the IRS daily to try and figure out when this is going to happen, and they don't know. They don't know when they're going to be able to make this update. And so what might happen is you may, maybe at the end, let's say at the end of October, they finally update the portal so you can make your updates in order to now receive this advanced credit. And therefore you get all 6 months worth spread out over only 2 months, November and December. I think it was a well-intended plan, but just like everything else that I feel has, not everything, but most of the stuff that has been passed within all of the economic, relief, the stimulus payments, the PPP, everything, you can definitely tell the disconnect between the people passing the bills and the people who have to enforce and implement what's going on here. So basically a disconnect between Congress, who's saying, okay, here's what we're doing for you, and then the SBA and the IRS, who then have to figure out how, right? So, I mean, I can be frustrated with the IRS, and trust me, I've been there, done that, but they have a tough job handed to them. So yeah. So, okay, let's see. Do I have any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Okay, no live questions. I have, I did have, let me pull them up. Of course, you guys, the one thing I did do, I did pull up the Facebook questions that have been posted throughout the group this week, and I had them up, and then I left the web page, or that page, the web page. Am I 50? Am I 100? Oh, sorry, not being rude. Am I tech illiterate? There we go. No, I'm not. I'm Facebook challenged is what I am. All right, so as I'm struggling to open this page back up with these questions, please, if you guys have questions for me, definitely put them in the chat. All right, tax questions, business tax questions, personal tax questions, accounting questions. I always say bookkeeping questions, but then I always make this face because it's a 50-50 whether I'm going to be able to answer your bookkeeping questions or not. It's been so long since I've actually done bookkeeping. Okay, let's open my event back up and open up these questions. Here we go. I can't pop them up on the screen, which is like my favorite thing to do, but okay. So one of the questions on here is, what is the best way to give Christmas end of year bonuses to employees to help both sides on taxes? Example, payroll check, gift card, total purchase, construction company here. Great question. So there's only one way to give employee bonuses, and that's through payroll. There's only one correct way to give employee bonuses, and that's through payroll. You can, so gifting, right? There is a $25 per recipient maximum of a gift you can give somebody without making it taxable income to them as the recipient. That excludes employees. With employees, you have to run it through payroll. So we actually have clients who do it a couple different ways, right? So we have clients who add it into their payroll, right? They just add it into their direct deposit at the end of the year, good to go. But I have a client who likes to give physical checks, right? So what he does is he will write each of his employees, handwritten checks for a Christmas bonus. So let's say $500. All right, let's just use that number. So they write their employee a $500 check. Well, then what happens if you're running payroll or whoever is running payroll for your company, you then have to enter that into your payroll system. So it gets recorded on your employee's W-2. And at that point, it's the $500 is their net check, and you have to back into what their gross payment was and pay all those payroll taxes on it. That is one option that if you know what you're doing, or if you have someone that can do that for you, is a great option. But regardless, it has to be reported on their W-2s, guys. There's no way around it. That's just a rule. So one thing you guys can do, because here's why, people are like, oh, bonuses get taxed more. I hate bonus money because it gets taxed more. Let me correct that a little bit. Okay. So your W-4 that you fill out, right, at the beginning of the year or whenever for your employer, that tells them how much to withhold on your federal and state withholding, right? That's all based on your income thresholds, right? So when you're making the same amount every pay period, it knows how much you've made all year, and like, okay, and it kind of tries to estimate your tax bracket, right? Well, when you have this big bonus, the payroll system does not differentiate that this is a one-time bonus compared to this is now your ongoing amount type thing. And so it withholds more, usually a higher amount. Okay, it does withhold a higher amount. However, that withholding, you report that on your tax return when you file, and you're likely going to get a chunk of that back. Okay, and again, every taxpayer is different, every situation is different, but that income is taxed at the same tax bracket that all of your other income is in, and that's whatever tax bracket you're in when you file your tax return. It's just they usually withhold a larger amount from your paycheck, but you'll eventually get that back when you file your return. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, a few more questions. I'm looking for more questions on our Facebook page. Okay, I don't see anything. Come on. Okay, so now I'm going to go through our chat. Answer that. Okay, Angel. Hi, Angel. So any update regarding Canadian and Mexican dependents? Can they still be claimed on my tax return? I haven't seen anything I'm trying to think if I've seen anything in the updates I've taken this year that talks about any changes to dependents, and I'm not sure I have, but you know what, I'm going to add that to my list to just, so every week I go through, like right before we get on this live, and I look at all the questions that people have posted in our group, and I make sure I have the answers to it. So Angel, I will add that just to make sure I'm not missing any updates that have been made, and I'll answer it next week. But but I don't think there's been any changes to dependent requirements. At least not, I mean, I've taken a number of update classes this year so far, and they haven't talked about it. Doesn't mean it really doesn't happen, but they're usually pretty thorough. So, okay, peeking one more time. All right, I got nothing else. All right, I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to post any other questions that you might have in the chat. Otherwise, I'll let you guys leave early. Okay, I feel like a teacher. We'll dismiss class early. So yeah, so just remember, just reminders, October 15th, tax deadline, PPP loans. Make sure you know when your cover period ended. 10 months from that date is when your application is due. Otherwise, you're going to start making repayments on that PPP loan. And the advanced child tax credit. We talked about that today as well. And just know, those advanced, it's so weird because it's called the advanced child tax credit. And then they call them I call them prepayments to try and differentiate. That portal should be open soon. So hi, Joyce. My 18-year-old son just started working a part-time job, so I can't claim him as a dependent anymore. Not necessarily true. It depends on how much he makes, and I will find the link. I actually have this is my kid still a dependent cheat sheet link that I can give to you guys. So normally, yes, normally you're like, okay, as soon as somebody makes a certain amount of money, but there are multiple criteria into who you can claim as a dependent. When it's a child, it's different than another family member being a dependent. The rules are different. They're complex. I'm going to stick a pin in that one too, Joyce, and we're going to talk about it in detail next week because that's a great question that I do get, not a lot, but I get frequently because, yeah, people just assume, oh, my kid turned 18, I can't claim him. Oh, my kid has a job, I can't claim him. Those things aren't true. And so we'll talk about that. So Angel and Joyce, I have 2 questions to start with next week. I have a few links and cheat sheets that I can use for both of those to also supply with you guys. I just don't want to sit here and look them up while y'all are here because that seems weird. Kind of rude. Anytime I'm on a call and I'm like typing, I feel like I'm being rude to you guys. So, okay. That said, I have some tax returns to do because we have a deadline next week. So I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you guys have a great Thursday, a great weekend. I have a few questions for homework to get to you guys next week, but then we will, I'll see you guys next week. Bye guys. Have a good one.